What up, what up? This is Matt James, all the way from Canada. How's she going, eh? And you're listening to Furious on Deeper Than Music.
This is Marquivas Furious Nias, and you're listening to Deeper Than Music Radio.
Deeper Than Music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music, deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music, deeper than music.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Deeper Than Music Radio, behind every great song, there's an even greater story. I'd like to say what's up to everybody listening to us on iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Castbox FM, and all the other podcasting platforms that we're podcasting on. So today we have a very special treat, another great talent that I got to meet at the Oscar Gala, Sue Wong's Oscar Gala. And amongst his story, his phenomenal story and background, one thing that we captured on film was what he brought up about the Oscar situation. If you know that, the Oscars tend to sometimes not reflect diversity. And we had a conversation about diversity and something that really stood out in my mind. And one thing about this actor his story is so unique is that he's from Lebanon, and he left during the Lebanese Civil War, and he left with pretty much the clothes on his back. And from there, he decided, he pursued his career in acting. He found himself in movies such as The Green Zone, which he was submitted for a 42nd Image Award for Best Supporting Actor. Other films that, to his credit, are Ghost, Bad Influence, True Romance, The Siege, amongst many others. And amongst that, he's also a award-winning award-winning producer and co-director, and also co-writer in the film The American Failure. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the one and only Said Faraj here on Deeper Than Music Radio. Said, how you doing?
How are you? Good evening to you, to everybody who's listening, and thank you for having me on your show, man. Really appreciate it.
No, not a problem, man. And your story is kind of, it's the American dream, right? But then also with that American dream is, like you said, like diversity. One thing that I do, I have a biracial daughter, and one thing with her paying attention to what's on TV, what can she watch and what can she relate to? And I just applaud you for your story, and also doing what you're doing, and also ushering and talking about, hey, we need more diversity in Hollywood. My first question is, you're from Lebanon, and you were there during the Civil War. How was that experience?
Honestly, it's very painful because it gave me a base, though. I lived it. I saw things that a lot of the people all around the world never seen, except the people that can relate is the people who've been through war itself. And it gave me appreciation to life, gave me appreciation to spread peace and love, to see, to help, with whatever I can help, and be really open to understanding in lots of ways. When at age 13, you get exposed to seeing people getting cut to pieces, and the two things is sad. It to a lot of people, they don't have a vision of the future when they are during the war, because when you're living at that, you're just thinking about surviving.
Yeah.
But to me, I don't know. It just probably God gave me this gift of talent that I need to share it with the world. And the only thing that I always loved since I was young and made me go through all these stages of life during the wartime was love of the movies and love of television and love of theater and love of telling a story, and how can I take that story and create it in my own version and my own words.
So when you were growing up, did you always know that you wanted to be an actor and pursue acting?
At age 7, I saw the play Les Miserables. It's a French play, and I just fall in it. I was like that interpretation, I guess, of the way it is, and what they did to it. It blew my mind. I was like, I want to be there, and I want to tell this type of stories, this layers of struggle of this guy, and so I was, and the actor that was portraying it. It's like I felt this is what I wanted to do to the rest of my life, and whatever opportunity I can have to get there, which was very hard because when you are, I'm from a Middle Eastern descent, and especially Lebanese people, we back then is different than right now. Back then, if you tell the world like I want to be an actor, it's like it's like a you try to crucify yourself, So it's like my father is like, yeah, sure, go and you want to become a lawyer or a engineer or a doctor, or something that have security, because as Middle Eastern, we're all going after. We always look for security and things. So the art form and the art, if it's a music or painting or an artist or an actor, it's not heard of, Yeah. So it was tough, but I think, I don't know what is it. It's just that vision that I have. It kept me like this. The only thing that I could be. I wasn't this, I wasn't this great in school. But when it come to art and when it come to entertainment and to sport, I was like, it's like I felt alive. I felt fantastic about it,
Yeah, and so like you're saying, your parents wanted you to go with the more secure route rather than doing the arts. So can you walk us through what was the process? How did you get to America?
Okay, during around 1983, it was United States was giving visas to 5 years visa to come to United States. And what happened is that, thank God, because my father, he lived and worked in Liberia, Monrovia, in Africa for almost 47 years. So when he went to Lebanon and we end up getting our visa, it was a little bit difficult because in Lebanon at age 16, you're mandatory need to go and serve in the army for 1, 2, or 3 years or something in that. So for me to get out of the country, I need to go through certain things, which is getting like a forgiveness for like to emergency to go out of the country and come back. Mm-hmm. So I end up getting this forgiveness letter of that allowed me to go out of the country for 10 days. And I needed to go get my passport, and I went down to the American embassy, and we stayed almost, I remember we left at 3 a.m, and by around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we stayed all day over there because it was a lot of people trying to get out, and mainly it was all women and children. And guys like myself was, mandatory to go to war or against, with the army or against the army, So what happened is I did get the chance for me to get my passport with my dad. And when we're leaving, this is when somebody came in and blew the embassy up. And I was the lucky person that had my last passport before the embassy blown up. And it took almost around probably a couple extra days for me to go get my tickets. And I remember that night, it was terrible explosions, and the whole mountain was on fire, and the whole city was terrible. I remember that the day that I left the hotel, because we were in Beirut, my dad drove me to the airport, and we were like driving so fast because there were snipers sniping at the car as well.
Oh, wow.
When I left, I even have that they knew that there was not only myself, but they knew that there were guys in my age. In my age that were in the hotel, so they came to take them, so they can pick them up to take them to join the army. So I reached to the airport, and my father, thank God he got me over there. It was very tough. I remember that the guy was trying to interrogate me. It's like, are you sure you're going to come back? It's like, no, I'm just going to go to see my brother for 10 days and come. I'm proud to be, I don't remember exactly. I'm proud to be Lebanese, and I'm proud to serve the army. And it's like what happened. And 3-4 times he wanted to stamp my passport and then pull it out, and at the end, thank God he stamped it, and I got into airplane. And for a moment I looked around in the airplane, and it was so crazy that I was the only male guy at age 16, and the rest of the whole airplane was full of kids and women.
Wow.
So I reached to Jordan, and I called my mom and I told her I reached to Jordan. She was crying. She told me they came to the hotel. They knocked at every single door. They came and asked. And you see, because my last name originally is Abi Faraj, which is ABI, and I was on top of the list of A. So I was very, very lucky to get. And I think that from there, the journey to go to New York, it was full of emotions. It was full of thinking to know if I will ever come back, if I will ever see my parents, if I will see my friends, if I will ever. So many things. That was a moment of realization of it's really happening. So I reached New York, and of course, the same thing. They took me to interrogate me because I was the only guy in the airplane, and it's like they want to find out. And of course, they just did the American embassy, and the American embassy blew up, and it's just they're trying to figure out. And they only gave me 10 days to stay in this country. So I was really, really blessed. And it's so funny because I get to the airplane, I reach to LA. And the crazy part of the whole thing, I'm talking too much, but I've just, this is very kind of funny story, because in my country, we go by last names. Like, for example, you go, if you are Faraj family, you'll be living in, let's say, Manhattan. Yeah. If you are Jones, you'll be living in Philadelphia. You see, so it's like, just say the last name and they will know what part of Lebanon you're from. So in my idea, I have an uncle of mine that he was here, and he is living in North Hollywood. So I thought North Hollywood is just like a couple streets,
Yeah.
And everybody would know my uncle. So I waited, and I came to the bus, and I told her, North Hollywood? It's like, yeah. So I got to North Hollywood. She dropped me at the bench on the corner of Colfax and Camarillo. And I was like, Uncle Isam? So it's like she looked at me like she doesn't know what it means. So for the next week and a half, or actually 2 weeks, I stayed on that bench waiting for my uncle to come, because I thought that he will know that I'm here, and he will know that I'm to come pick me up. So this is what we started the journey of coming to United States, my friend.
Yeah, man. And I mean, that's very impressive. And I know, this was your calling, right? And for you to be able to do all that, it's God divine, divinity, that it all happened. So I understand when you got to America, there was another challenge, right? You had to work menial jobs. And I understand you went to acting school as well, correct?
Yes. Well, what happened is that after I set myself, and I just for us to work here, you need to get some paper. But of course, it's like with the way it happens is that you get fake this or fake that, and just you do what you have to do. So I started working, and every single job I usually, before it was different, they will give you you start working, and by the time they will want to find your papers, and it's like a couple days or a week, or you go and they tell you, well, this is not the right social security or whatever. Okay, just this is your money. I'm sorry, we cannot hire you, and you need to leave. And then I did a lot of I did 22 jobs in 2 years.
Wow.
A lot of cash money, a lot of working in mechanic. I mean, you name it, I worked it, man. But it's so crazy, because of all these years that I did that, and of all these things and experiences, that's what you see. Knowledge in life is very important, and the most important that you take that knowledge and you take all this experience and you create the knowledge that it gives you this foundation of strength and this strength of character that will, when it comes to certain experience in the future, then you can use it, and it will help. If as it help you, it can help somebody else. So that's what happened to me. And then what happened is that I went to a high school. I even lied on my age, so just to get something. And I think this is the best thing that ever happened. I only lasted like a 1 or 2 semesters, and I end up having again. I get into the art classes, and there was God bless her, Miss Haber, my art teacher, that I just tell her, like, I love acting and I do not know what to do, and I just need to see how can I get into this business, and she told me, well, take this business card. It was Atmosphere Agency. It used a background, and just give them a call and see what they can help you with. At the meantime, I put the card on the side. I didn't do it right away. It's so funny. I was working in a college junior at the college, and I decided to it's like it was in Burbank, close to the Warner Brothers. And one time, I will never forget this actor. His name is Justin Bateman, if I'm sure you ever.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him. Yeah, I'm familiar with him. Yeah.
So he came in. I was like, oh my God, I know you. I see your show. It's like, can I have your autographs? And you know what happened later on? I got fired from that job, but I was excited, and I used to go to the fans of. It was crazy because I used to go to the fans of Warner Brother, and you used to stand over there, and used to, if I see anybody, I can act, I want to act, can you just get me inside, and so I can do a role or something. And that was things that the amateur and unexperienced would do, but at the same time It was the desire and excitement of me wanting to act and wanting to be in movies. So when that did not happen, I took that card and I called and I started doing my background of extras. And I remember my first background extra work was on a film with Gene Hackman, and it was the experience of my lifetime, and I will never forget it. It was about a movie that he's coaching his kid, I think, or his or a boxer. And what's interesting about it is that he was so much in charge with the whole set. I was mesmerized with his acting. I was like, wow. I mean, I was so blessed even with the background to just watch these phenomenal actors in the beginning of my career and see and learn a lot. I remember I did another background for a film that, who was it? Heather Graham. Another one. I mean, to see their later on again. That was one of the highlight of my life. Regardless, I did a background, and background, that doesn't mean it's bad or not. It means that you do what you have to do for you to go to the next level. I did what a background, and who was the director? It was Bill Paxton. He was the Hulk before, the old Hulk before he turned into the Hulk, like a show. And I grew up with this type of shows, you know, Starsky and Hutch and all those shows. And what's interesting about it just the more I meet these guys and the more I see, like, oh my God, these people are real, you know.
Yeah.
I become more and more infatuated with this. And by the way, yes, then my family came over here and they kept every single day, you need to go get yourself a job. That will not change even for the longest, for many years to come. They always kept on telling me, is this what you want to do? You want to get into drugs? You want to get into alcohol? You want to get into this? It's like, go get yourself. And that was a continuous of a challenge with me, for me to prove to them, like, no, listen, wait, I have the call, I know what I have, and I know. So I kept pursuing what I need to pursue, and then I started. I found a manager, and to book many roles. In the beginning of my career, it was out of I didn't take any acting classes in the beginning because it was the eagerness of just being on set. I didn't care. It's like one line here, two line here, one line here. But then after I start building all the, I do have around more than 160, 170 films on credit.
Wow.
So with that said, in the beginning, I did so many roles of like the bits and small roles, but it gave me a lot of experience to learn. But what happened is that I thought that this is not enough. I wanted to show my acting. I wanted to show roles. So I started trying to audition for bigger roles, but I did not get for a long time because I needed the. You see, when people don't understand the difference between just auditioning or acting, and auditioning is have a technique by itself. So I had to go and learn the techniques of auditioning, and Candy Herman was the acting coach. I stayed with her for 6 years until after that she retired, and I learned a lot, and I learned what I need to do when it comes to a bigger roles, and I started taking my acting career very seriously, and I started having private acting coach as well. I started reading a lot of books, a lot of understanding what a person need to do when it comes to a bigger role, what it requires. And I respect every single actor when it comes to big roles, and I understand they make it very easy and you just book the roles, but it takes a lot of steps to get to that, you know.
So what was your in the beginning, like what was the biggest challenge that you had to face breaking into acting and getting significant roles?
One thing I through my acting coach was I did not know I have a dyslexia. I thought that it was a disease, but I read things backwards, and that was one of the big things that it was there. And also the stereotype in Hollywood, it become something that like a repetition, and it become before 9/11 was a completely typical stereotype about Middle Eastern. The louder and the more angrier and the more the more intense you are, the one that books the roles. So it become like when we go to audition, and I see some of the friends of mine that we are on audition, it's like, okay, let's see who's going to scream the loudest inside, you know. And there was no challenge. There was no I mean, like there is no character of like layers of this character, but there's like, okay, you know, just angry, and show how, like the more angry and the more like the really stereotype, as they do with African Americans, as they do with Asian or Latin. I mean, I'm sure every single person went through this stereotype, but for Middle Eastern, or I think like also as well as African American, I think it become very like even a drug dealer, like the African American, that or the terrorist for Arabs. I mean, it was this.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's like even the beggar on the street, or like the gangbanger, or the person that robs and shoot. Like it's like, okay, there is no challenge of the character.
Yeah, you hit it on the head perfectly. Like there's no depth. You get typecasted, and no, yeah, I see exactly what you're saying, and it is sad. Yeah, you're right. For a lot of
and it was so funny because when I used to go to an audition, it's like we used to joke. It's like, okay, here goes okay, Saeed is here. All right, guys, everybody, let's go home. He's the loudest. Let's go. So it's like it was like this, you know. I mean, so I'm sure in the African American community also have like that person, that one person that he's like the more angry, and the stereotype that he books every single thing. And it was extremely challenging. Nobody was giving such a creative mind. Like, for example, I used to remember when they did Lawrence of Arabia. When I watched that, I was like, oh my God, wow. I mean, that was like, depth of character of Omar Sharif, or when they did, like, I know that Dr. Zhivago, he did in that one, he did completely something different, but depth of character. I mean, Marlon Brando, depth of character of different kinds. But for Middle Eastern or for African American, it took like, I mean, years and years and years, you know, of struggle to stand out. And unfortunately, to come to this year, you know, to go through the Oscars and to go back. I mean, I'm sure I jumped a lot, but to point this, because it's very important. You see, diversity is like wow, what the heck? I mean, really? It's like you know, they made it so clear of that.
Yeah, and it seems like they'll move forward a little bit, and then you have like a lot of diversity, and then they'll go 20 steps back. Like,
and it's so crazy that last year my friend Rami Malek won for Bohemian Rhapsody, and you goes like, yeah, you see, it's like diversity and and I think the year before, a couple of years before, I think who won it. That was African American. That one. What's his name? Marshall Ali. I think he won.
Yeah.
And you think like, great, man. It's like everything is like you're having your hopes up, and suddenly you come this year and you go, it's like, what the heck happened? What happened?
And what's been funny is that, because I tell people and they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, even, we talk about diversity in America, but if you look at television, like if you see a timepiece, a timepiece there's not gonna be too many minorities. And even movies, even shows are highly segregated. Like you don't see like a show with a lot of Middle Eastern people, a lot of Puerto Ricans, a lot of Asians. Like you say, and the ones that you see it's typecast. I have a question. What do you think? How will we get to that place where it's diversity, and then they show 3-dimensional characters that are other than the majority, that are Middle Eastern, that are African American, that are Asian and Latino? How do we get to that place?
You see, that's what is driving me crazy, because they start doing things like that, then they stop. I don't know why they stop. It's like when you feel independent film. I was cheering so loud. I knew that Parasite was going to win. I knew that, like from the first minute. I went to a Asian World Film Festival. I was invited. I have a friend of mine, Jojo Shamon. He's the conductor over there, and they show the film, and it's like, I know that films like that should stand out. Mm-hmm. I think that when it comes to independent film, I with all due respect to Netflix, I got it. I watch Netflix myself. I see so many films there, and so many times, with all due respect, I do get disappointed, because it's like, I'm going like, wait a second here. Independent films and Netflix should be giving the chance for independent movies, and this is what I mean by independent films is diversity is huge in it.
Yeah,
diversity. It's when you take a character and I could play. They don't look at me to what my identity as a Middle Eastern, but they look at me to if I'm a good actor and I really portray this character to the maximum of my ability, that it will stand out. This is what I always scream for. It doesn't, like people making, if like when they cast, for example, back in the days, they cast Jennifer Lopez for Selena. Oh my God, they make such a big deal. She's Puerto Rican. She's, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Like,
yeah.
They easy people, I mean, if the person is the best person for the job and he had the chance to audition, you see, it's not given, you see.
Yeah.
Then it make a big difference. And yes, it is like they start doing three-dimensional characters. African America is already way. I mean, they even have their. They have their own shows and their own networks and their own the diversity. They even have their own image awards.
Yeah.
I was submitted for a guest starring episode of SWAT television show on that. But also, here it goes again. If you give the chance for the image awards, I mean, they should give it also a chance for that diversity that we don't get in the Oscars, for example.
Yeah.
And if it's you have the image awards for all African American for all the roles, instead of like give something, not because I have 500 million viewers on YouTube channel, then okay, yeah, we'll bring him in so he can bring the rating.
And I think too, you spoke on it, and I've heard this on so many levels, that a network will go to when diversity is it makes money, they'll do it. to make that money. But then afterwards, when they don't longer see that there's movies into it or money into it, they kind of shun away from it, right? So it's all based on financial gain.
And the thing that before it used to have like all what you need is a 1 star in a film, and the movie got green light. Right now, they need the A-listers to be the actor, the actress. Talking about lead, actor and actress, supporting actors, the director. It's like, why don't you just package the whole thing and get it over with, and but because it doesn't work this way, man. That's why they created stuff like Netflix, Hulu, for independent film that have a message to send, that have a interesting film to show, gutsy film that will not show on television. They can show it on they can show it on things like Hulu or like Netflix, and but now Netflix, it become such a power that they decided, like, if you wanted to submit a film to see if they would get picked up, it have to be, for example, a certain way of shot, a certain lighting, certain they have stuff. It's not like the way it was before.
So now, since it's a big business, now they have a certain criteria you have to meet in order
Absolutely.
to be. Mm-hmm. So again, Saeed, thank you for being on the show, man. We have to bring you on again, man, because your story is so. I feel like we haven't covered everything. Unfortunately, with all my great interviews, time it goes by so fast. So we only have like 8 minutes left. But I wanted to ask, what has been your most rewarding moment so far in your career?
Booking the film Green Zone. Mm-hmm. I think by me auditioning between 4,000 actors, I think that for me to know that the film was offered to an A-lister and I had the chance for me to book the role, for Paul Greengrass to fight for 4.5 months to say that I wanted the real McCoy, and they brought somebody who's Middle Eastern for the role because supposed to be speaking in Arabic instead of English. I think that moment of getting this role is why I'm speaking to you, because it gave me a platform for me to I fought. So it's like after the movie came out, you see a lot of people that don't understand how social media works. I had to fly down back home to my country for after 22 years, promote the movie, go on every single interview, spent like around almost 6 months every single night to go to different place to promote the film. And I think that it gave me a place for me to have my voice being heard, and that gave me my dream, because it gave me the dream that I fought all these years, and it gave me what I thought that talking about diversity. Well, here it goes. This is a guy with a full. Full 3-dimension character that he gave me the chance for me to create, to sink my teeth, to bring all the experience, the war. Believe me, there was scene at the wall that it made me think about my family. And that was a big thing, man. And I really want to appreciate you for having me on the show and sharing some of my stories. And again, diversity. It will be the next. From now on, I can see that's coming back. And I think diversity for the next Oscar. Remember my words. It will be completely different Oscar next year. I promise you.
Oh man, we hope so, man. I think you're very right, man. I think we will see, and other platforms and people and shows are coming out, and people like you speaking up. So it's definitely not falling on deaf ears. So Saeed, my last 2 questions.
Yes.
Where can people find you on social media? This is shameless promotion time. And what projects do you have 2020 and beyond? What can we look forward to seeing from you?
Fantastic. My name is Said Faraj. You can find it from Facebook, Google my name, Instagram is the same thing, Twitter, all of it is the same way. And 2020, it's been blessed starting by fantastic film that have all the characters. It's a in my first horror film. It's called I Am Fear. It's a great director, and it gets released tomorrow night. Okay, the March 3rd. I'm so excited to have you today because it will release on DVDs. It will release on all over. Just check it out, guys. I'm so excited. Amazon as well. I want your support in it. And if anybody would see it, please send you a message or send me a message. Go on my Facebook. I'm going to promote your show on my Facebook as well. And for all my friends and all my fans and family that did not have the chance to hear it, I'm going to post it. And again, thank you so much for giving me the chance to be on your show, my friend.
Oh, no problem, Saeed. And again, thank you for taking time to talk to us on the show and also to talk to us on the red carpet. I mean, your story.
And big shout out, before I forget, for my fantastic team, Sheila Leggett and my assistant Trisha. I just want to say thank you so much for believing in me and on also, continue fighting and continue working for me and believing in my talent. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And shout out to Trisha. She's the one that reached out. And again, ladies and gentlemen, another great interview. And you've heard a phenomenal story about Saeed coming from Lebanon and pursuing his dream. And now he's on the big screen making things happen and also an advocate for diversity in Hollywood. So ladies and gentlemen, like we say, dream big. And he's an example of the American dream and blazing the path for everyone across the board to believe in their dream and follow their dreams. So ladies and gentlemen, here's another great episode of Deeper Than Music with our special guest, Said Faraj, signing off for here on Deeper Than Music Radio.
Amen.
The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music, deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music, deeper than music.